So what do you think the second step of installing Kali from the ISO file is? That's right, installation. The ISO file for Light Kali has been downloaded and it's in the Downloads folder. Now I go to VMware Fusion Virtual Machine Library. From the upper left corner, click the Add button and select New. We're on the installation method selection window. So the big option, which is selected by default, is our option, install from disk or image. Now I can click Continue to move on. So now is the time to select the ISO file. We can't just drop the file if we drag it from over here. Here's the file browser. Select the ISO file, drag and drop it in the installation wizard, and click Continue. In the next step, we have to choose the operating system of the VM. Now we know that Kali is a Debian-based Linux distro, and we downloaded the 64-bit version, so choose Linux, then the 64-bit version of the latest Debian, and once again click Continue. So now we're on the last step of installation, and there's a summary here. The default values, 512 megabytes of RAM, NAT networking, etc. So when I click the Finish button, it asks for the location and the name of the VM file. I'm okay with the default. It's better to collect VMs in the same location, in my opinion. That way I stay organized, and I recommend you do too. And click Save. Now the VM boots for the very first time. In the boot menu, choose one of the install or graphical install options. I'll show you what the graphical install looks like now. As you see, it's a typical operating system installation. We need to configure the OS now. So select the language, location, and keyboard configuration. Now it's configuring the network with DHCP. Okay. Is this deja vu? There seems to be something wrong with the DHCP. Let's just try it once more. Nope, failed again. So no worries, because problems occur and we're going to fix it. Now let's keep going with the option Configure Network Manually. Now I'll give it an IP address within the IP block of my VMware's network, 172.16.99.0/24. I know the IP 224 is not in use, so I'll use it for this VM. Netmask is correct, and we're in a /24 block. So now it's asking for the gateway. Well, I don't remember actually, but the IP1 is probably the correct IP. So click Continue. Let's see what happens. DNS server address again. I'll keep the IP1. Continue. Host name of the VM. I want to use Kali Lite. Well, I used uppercase letters here, but it's not commonly used in the Linux host names. Anyway, continue. Now give it a domain name. I think Kali is good. Now the installation wizard sets up the root user and asks for the password. To make it identical with other Kali VMs installed from the virtual machine images, I'll set the password as tour. All right. Don't need any partitions. We're only installing Kali Lite as a virtual machine, so it can use the entire disk reserved for itself. Continue. Keep going with the default options for disk partitioning. Yes, write the changes to disks. Now the system is being installed. And just like before, it may take several minutes. So no, we won't use a network mirror. Continue. Now it's installing the bootloader. It's asking to install the grep bootloader to the master boot record. Now, this is more meaningful when you install an operating system as a second one on the host. We're just installing a virtual machine, so it's the only operating system for it. So, yes, install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. We have only one partition to install, grub, so I select that and continue. And installation is complete. So it's time to boot into our new system. Continue. We are finally at the login screen. Root is the username and tour, or whatever you set, if you set it differently, is the password. And look at that. Welcome to 64-bit Kali Lite installed by the ISO file. So I want to turn it off for now. Now let's go to the folder that we chose for installation, order by date modified, and here is the Kali Lite VM file.